assemble. Secure victory for your team's candidate using facts, obscure knowledge, and trash talk. Tonight, it's Mary Poppins versus Miss Frizzle on West Coast Geeks versus No! Mysterious figure. Clearly the English nanny possesses some extreme knowledge of the magical arts. She is, after all, Gandalf approved. She arrives neither early nor late, but precisely when she means to. And since she is English, it's safe to say she's a graduate of Hogwarts. Probably a prefect from Ravenclaw, if I was gonna guess. Although maybe Gryffindor, I don't fucking know how the sorting hat works. One thing's for sure, she's probably not from Hufflepuff. If she was from Hufflepuff, the song would be "A spoonful of sugar makes another spoonful of sugar go down." Recently, I saw the movie Saving Mr. Banks, which is the story about the author of Mary Poppins, the lovable asshole P.L. Travers. And of course, by lovable asshole, I mean just a plain old asshole. But I love seeing her being an asshole to Walt Disney, because who else gets that opportunity? But honestly, even though Travers hated the final product, fuck her, because, you know, the movie is a classic, has endured for generations, entertained young and old, yada yada yada. I honestly just think she's lucky that she isn't alive today to see a hypothetical reboot of Mary Poppins. Because, let's be honest, suckering people into theaters with nostalgia and then wringing those properties dry for every bit of cash that they have is kind of what Hollywood does. Thank you so much. Travers counts her lucky stars that Disney made a movie and not a modern director like say, M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong. If M. Night was directing Mary Poppins, it would be like the Banks children would be dead all the time, and London was actually in like modern day America, and Bert is an alien, and Mary Poppins is a tree or some shit. I don't fucking know. Or could you imagine Mary Poppins being adapted by someone who loves fucking around with cherished childhood franchises? Michael Bay! First of all, it would be set in America, and Mr. Banks would be a general of the army. And at the end, he wouldn't learn a meaningful lesson about family, he'd just learn what he knows deep in his heart, that the US of A has the greatest goddamn military force on the planet, USA! 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 Chanting now! Don't abuse your power. And of course, if that was the version, Mary Poppins would have to be played by Megan Fox. She would wear aviator glasses and show way more skin than Julie Andrews. Which actually isn't that bad. If Mary Poppins were a stripper, her name would be Cherry Poppins. I thought of that one late at night, I'm so sorry. But does that make her the most extraordinary educator? I don't think our education system gets enough funding. Either that or the magic school bus gave me way too high of an expectation for what to expect on field trips. Or both. Probably both. I was so jealous of Miss Frizzle's field trips, my school could not afford to go back in time and see dinosaurs. We just watched reruns of the Flintstones. I asked my teacher what his thoughts on that was, and he said, it's a living. Unlike Miss Frizzle's class, my school couldn't have students getting baked into a pie. My school just had students getting baked. Although in the end, Miss Frizzle's class and my class both got to go on some crazy trips, man. I'm very fortunate that I'm not a teacher, because my God, Looking at Miss Frizzle's class, it's clear she has way more patience for her students than I would. I would probably take chances, make mistakes, get messy, and commit homicide. Let's just run by a couple of Miss Frizzle's students a moment. There's Dorothy Ann. Little Miss, according to my research... Hey, Dorothy Ann, does your research tell you that nobody likes a little know-it-all, bitch? No? I didn't think so. Do you have your magic bus license? Then stop trying to fucking teach the class. Then we have Phoebe. Miss, at my old school we didn't yada yada yada. At my old school we didn't do that. At your old school did they teach you how to shut the fuck up? Because I don't think so. And then we got Arnold. This friggin' guy. This guy. Okay, you know what, Arnold? You always say you should have stayed at home today. Stay at home. Okay? Just, you do not deserve Miss Frizzle's wondrous, whimsical trips. Now, the only member of Miss Frizzle's class who I can actually kind of identify with is Carlos. It's Carlos. The blue hoodied guy who makes all the horrible puns. Because back when I was in high school, that was me. I took all the advanced science classes, even though I knew I was just going to go into arts anyways. I don't even know why I was there. My friend made a hypothesis, and I think he cracked the code. He said I was only there to make science-related jokes. Which is pretty true. So, Carlos, wherever you are, I have a little bit of life advice. It doesn't matter how many awesome field trips you go on, you will not be the world's greatest scientist. I am so sorry, but your puns would make you an excellent stay-at-home dad. Listen. I'm not sure about a lot of this, but take my advice on this matter. I'm like a proton here. I'm always positive. We should just stop the show now. That was the high note right there. Miss Frizzle has a matching wardrobe prepared for every lesson. Wait to see what she has prepared for sex ed. But does that make her the most extraordinary educator? That's what we're here to find out. Let's meet the Geeks and Nerds! For Mary Poppins, Team Geek and your geek leader, with an accent way better than Dick Van Dyke's awful portrayal of a British accent. I mean, come on, what was casting thinking with that diabolical garble? Did they even listen to, back to the almost practically perfect team leader? It's Jennifer Bradley! While most certainly not practically perfect in any way, she will do her best to brighten your day. It's your purveyor of sunshine and rainbows, Andrea Westaway! A local stand-up and lover of all things British. She'll chimney sweep you off your feet. Carlos. It's Fatima Dore. And for Miss Frizzle, Team Nerd and your nerd herder, this debater. Let me try that again. If this debater had had a teacher like Miss Frizzle in her life, she would be a better Time Lord than she is now. Science magic is the only way to do things. Fasten your seatbelts. Woohoo! It's Anne Honeycutt. It's their anniversary of their nemesis. That's so sweet, seeing as how you're going to yell at each other soon. Jesus. If she had the phrase as her teacher, she'd never want to miss a day. It's Erin Ogilvy! She makes up 5/8 of Vancouver's own charity nerdy bakery, CNC Cakery. In old school, she wasn't forced to debate shallow and pedantic shit like this. It's Courtney Shrub! Excellent. Welcome, geeks. Welcome, nerds. How are you tonight?
Pretty damn great. I'm sick.
Oh.
I'm sicker.
We'll find out who's
Only in
sicker
your
soon.
mind.
Okay. Well, on that note, please pick up your D20 and roll for initiative. We have a 7 and an 11. So, the geeks, 7-11. So, geeks, do you choose to go first or second?
We'll go first.
All right, the geeks are going first, and we have our intro round to start off. Geeks, please tell us in 2 minutes' time why Mary Poppins is the greatest educator. You have 2 minutes. Please begin.
How to describe such a wonderful, well-loved woman other than saying that she is practically perfect in every way? I know, but it's true. She never ever puts children in danger and always makes sure everyone is safe even when having fun, giggling, having tea on the ceiling or using a spot of magic. She's firm but kind, never gets cross, but keeps children engaged even when tidying a nursery, which, come on, is pretty boring. But even Michael Banks proclaims that, but I don't want to go out, I want to tidy up the nursery again. Such power and inspiration is rarely seen in educators across the board. She teaches life lessons and focuses on getting children to grow up as decent and caring individuals, such as just giving a small amount to someone can help so many people all at the same time. One small act can bring so much happiness, like looking at Feed the Birds, the song. There's so many metaphors in that movie. But if you just think about it, just a small bit of tuppence can help so many people, and also it helps the less fortunate. So she's just like getting everyone to look at people on the same page, which is really nice. And Mary encourages all to use their imagination to create new heights and new goals. With tuppence for paper and string, you can have your own set of wings, soaring up where the air is clear and nothing is in your way. What a lovely outlook to look on life. And also, it doesn't matter what kind of shitty, horrible, crappy thing you've got to do. All you have to do is have a metaphorical spoonful of sugar and everything will be great. Positive thinking, I love it.
30 seconds.
She's also, her education isn't just limited to children. She also teaches young and old, and everyone is better for it.
All right. Let's hear it for the geeks. And now intro round for the nerds. Nerds, please tell me in 2 minutes' time why Miss Frizzle is the most extraordinary educator. Please begin.
So I've been teaching for 5 years, so I might be a little bit biased. Being a teacher is fucking hard. Administration's up your ass because you haven't gotten your report cards in yet. The parents are calling you because poor Sam has failed history because he's on his fucking phone all the time. And you drink every night while you correct papers to make your students sound smarter. Miss Valerie Frizzle has been teaching longer than I've been alive. And she still comes to class with a smile on her face and a bounce on her step. Believe me, after 30 plus years of teaching, it's hard to hide your dead, soulless eyes. What's more? I couldn't see them. What's more, she teaches in a way that every young teacher strives to teach. Instead of sitting her kids down in a desk for 8 hours a day, talking at them, making them do worksheets and worksheets, she puts an emphasis on independence, freedom within limits, a respect for a child's natural development. When kids sit on their asses doing pen on paper homework, they remember like 30% of what they are taught. When kids learn for themselves and teach one another, like Miss Frizzle's class, they will absorb 90%. Miss Frizzle has it even harder to get through to her kids. Come on, there's 8 kids in the classroom, they ride a short bus. Miss Frizzle is not only teaching 8 students, she is individually adapting her curriculum to suit 8 different special needs students.
We'll have to end it there, guys. Let's hear it. And their soul deathless eyes. So it's almost time for round 2, but before we do, it's time to hand out the rebuttal tokens. The rebuttal tokens, yay! That was a nice Kermit the Frog yay there. The rebuttal tokens can be handed in at any point to instantly rebuttal a topic that the other team has mentioned. So, Miss Frizzle, we tried to find a lizard, but I guess they're endangered, so we have a picture of Liz to put on your desk. There you go.
I would have brought my own, but she's not allowed in the audience.
You have me.
And for Mary Poppins, we have sugar and a spoonful of. So, there we go. Presumably for the medicine. So, leave up to your imagination what the medicine is. I don't know. That leads us to round 2, which is the attack round. Geeks, you have 2 minutes time to tell us why Miss Frizzle is not the most extraordinary educator. Please begin.
Do Miss Frizzle's students ever have a normal field trip?
With a friend? No way!
Miss Frizzle has a catchphrase that she always shouts at her students, which is, take chances, make mistakes, get messy. When in fact, what it really should be is, take chances, make mistakes, live in constant mortal danger. How does Miss Frizzle educate her students? By placing them in danger, where they have to escape molten lava, combat murderous white blood cells, and fend off a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Whenever Miss Frizzle leaves the children to fend for themselves in countless dangerous situations, a student Tim always shouts, "We've been frizzled!"
I'm going to have to stop you there. We've been frizzled. We have a rebuttal token being turned in. What? I won it. We so early. All right, what point do you care to rebuttal?
It's called a permission slip.
Wait a second, you see that?
It's called a permission. I don't care. John, I'm debating. It's called a permission slip. Parents, read this legally binding document that says, I know that our children are going to the moon. And if they say, oh shit, that's not cool, I don't want my child to go to the moon, then they don't sign the legally binding document.
It's their parents putting them in mortal danger. Alright, going back.
Now, how in fact can a teacher who's so flighty that each of her field trips depend on what is happening on that particular day, how can she prepare such a permission slip where in case those students actually have a choice? How is this possible? We never see those permission slips. So I don't know how that was completely relevant.
I had to sign a waiver to get on stage today. Do you think those kids' parents signed waivers so that they could go into volcanoes? I think not.
Definitely not. And one point I'd like to make on the We've Been Frizzled, if your students use your last name negatively almost every episode as a verb, probably a good sign that you're a bad educator, am I right? You never hear Michael or Jane shout, "We've been Poppins!"
I'm going to have to end you there because that is a sexual act. Alright. Your time's up. Let's hear it for... We've Been Frizzled. The last time I heard someone use a verb name, it's We've Been Greta from Community. Alright, so, moving on to attack round for the nerds. We have 2 minutes. Explain to me why Mary Poppins is not the most extraordinary educator. Please begin.
So I don't know about everyone else, but I was a fairly sick child growing up. So I had to take a lot of medicine, and the banana tasting medicine was so good. But if I followed Mary Poppins, rule of thumb where you take a spoonful of sugar, I would have not only been left with diabetes, but possibly drug addiction, stuff like that. It's just not really something you should instill in children from a very young age. And not only that, following her logic, I was also very, I kind of acted as a child. I didn't really think before acting of what the consequences would be. So I wanted to fly like her. So what do? You grab an umbrella. Well, when she flies, she's just straight legs. So what do? Jump off, straight leg, you fall. I mean, there's no bounce, there's no give. You're just breaking bones at that point.
And not only does she teach you to jump off the roof, 1934 book in the chapter Bad Tuesday, Mary and the kids visit all places all over the world, including third world countries, the Chinese, the Inuit, the Aboriginals, and Africans. And when they're with these African peoples, they eat watermelon. And they decide they want to cover the kids in boot polish to fit in. Yeah, this is in the book.
I'm going to have to stop you at boot polish. We have a rebuttal. Tell me, what point do you care to rebuttal? Humorously, yes.
So, first of all, I think we all know P.L. Travers is a terrible, terrible person, and that particular book was re-edited because it was so terrible. But let me ask you, when you think of Mary Poppins, do you think of that? No, you think of Julie Andrews. Because, you know, in between the book and the movie, Mary had a chance to re-evaluate her teaching style and come out a better teacher, an educator on the other side. However, according to my research, the Frizz in the book and the Frizz in the movie, in the show, she never did that. Those kids were still in constant danger, and they needed therapy afterwards.
All right, so we're moving back over to the nerds. You have about 30 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, I also wanted to say that she teaches you that no matter how shitty your parents are, if you just wish for a magical wizard fairy woman to come and save you, then that teaches you how to deal with your shitty parents. That's not how you deal with your shitty parents. It's called counseling. Shitty parents do not equal.
And if we're going to say that the author of Mary Poppins is not important to this debate, the one who said that the Disney movie really shouldn't exist, that Mary Poppins really wasn't the Mary Poppins she had in mind, then we've got to think about like what is canon and what is not. Is racist Mary canon? She was the original.
All right, we're going to have to end it on racist Mary. All right, let's hear it for the nerds. Of this whole debate is parents are awful. That's what it's coming down to, I guess. All right, so it is time for some parents, yes. It is time for round. I'm trying to say what round it is. Hey, it's time for round 3. I missed my sound cue. The Mooman question. So the Mooman question is a question chosen specifically for each debate by moi. And tonight's Mooman question is, every once in a while, a Mooman question will not exactly be about the debate, but is still a good question to ask. Please explain why your candidate is most like a Time Lord. Kind of veering to the side of the topic here. Geeks, you have 2 minutes to explain to me all the timey-wimey bullshit. Go ahead.
With so much evidence, I barely know where to begin. Let's start with appearance. Like other Time Lords we know and love, she most definitely has a uniform. She's got an excellent coat. Folks, she wears a bow tie. And say it with me, bow ties are cool. Yeah, you know it. Plus, she doesn't shy away from a crazy scarf. And have you seen that hat? No one other than a Time Lord could pull off a hat with crazy flowers sticking out of it. Actually, no one other than a Time Lord would want to. She also has a strange attachment to London, swoops in whenever she's needed, especially if sad kids are involved. How could she be using anything other than Gallifreyan technology to pull out a full-length lit lamp from a carpet bag? That sucker is bigger on the inside. She also has the personality quirks of a Time Lord, conversing with cheeky equipment on clouds. She speaks both dog and bird, and like many Time Lords, she does not feel the need to explain herself, especially to authority figures. And she does have a tendency to be a bit temperamental. On top of that, she has crazy adventures with adoring companions. Oh, Bert. We get it right from his mouth. The most amazing things happen when you're with Mary Poppins. Honestly, when it comes down to it, the question should really be, how is she not a Time Lord. She practically, I mean, folks, I think she might be the Doctor. Maybe.
All right, leaving it on a question. You left it up there if she's the Doctor or not, but she's probably not the Master. I can assume that.
Definitely not the Master.
All right, so moving on to nerds, explain to me in 2 minutes' time why Miss Frizzle is most like a Time Lord.
I'm
Begin.
apologizing right now for our visual aid.
Oh, I need to do the ding. Okay, go.
We don't have to worry about if she's whether or not Miss Frizzle is like a Time Lord because she's River Song. River Song is a doctor of archaeology, which means that she had to go to school and actually teach, which means she had to get a teaching degree, which means she had to do student teaching, and you bet your fucking ass that she used her TARDIS bus. Yes, she fixed the chameleon circuit because when you are married to somebody and you want to use something, you fix it and then say it's still broken. Okay? I know, I'm married. Her student teaching is the magic school bus. She goes to Miss Frizzle because that's how you protect your identity as a Time Lord. The Doctor does not say, "Hi, I'm the Doctor" to everybody. He does use a synonym. It's completely true. She has lots of timey-wimey sciencey things. She goes into time and teaches them about dinosaurs. I would also like to say your whole, she puts the kids in danger, oh my goodness. No, they're near the school bus, which means that the force field that the TARDIS has that protects you from everything that is going to kill you actually is protecting those children. River Song is Miss Frizzle, and Miss Frizzle is River Song.
30 seconds.
The other thing that I want to say is, as personally, the thing I love the most from Doctor Who is the sayings that he says, you know, like Alonzi and Geronimo. I'm sorry, but what the fuck is ya ha 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 who?
Alright! We're gonna end it there. Let's hear it for the nerds. Okay, here comes one of my favorite points of the night. Round 4, who would win in a fight? So, we'll start with the Geeks. Geeks, explain to me how Mary Poppins would kick Miss Frizzle's ass. You have 2 minutes. Please begin.
It's highly unlikely that these two ladies would ever fight, but Mary Poppins is a master of reverse psychology.
And really, the only likely scenario where which would have Mary Poppins approaching Miss Frizzle would be for her to discuss the constant and reckless endangerment of the children in her class. Miss Frizzle would maybe be able to concentrate on that conversation for about 5 seconds before flittering off and disappearing. And then this would frustrate Mary, of course, because whatever. Miss Frizzle. But you know what? I think she would maybe use the opportunity to finally teach those poor children a lesson. And maybe take them on a field trip where they weren't in danger all the time. And possibly teach them that you must be patient when dealing with people who have attention problems.
Also, I don't know if you saw the London Olympics opening, 2012. Yeah, Mary Poppins defeated Voldemort.
I don't think Frizzle could do that.
Did a baby do that?
She'd make her students really big so they could fight their own problems and then disappear. Like Frizzle.
And then those poor children would have whistles.
Dad, slowly.
Even Frizzle!
And with that, we're out of time. Let's hear it for the Geeks and Random Guidance and Demon Frizzle. Alright, going over to the nerds. 2 minutes, please begin.
Alright, so I'm just going to set a base and remind everyone of what Mooman said, how, you know, Mary Poppins most likely went, because she's from London, went to Hogwarts, most likely a Gryffindor. We can confirm this because she actually does have a red and gold scarf.
Miss Frizzle is a Gryffindor.
So, keeping that in mind, alright?
Did you just say Miss Frizzle is a Gryffindor?
Oh, sorry. No, she's actually Slytherin.
Anyway, so, Time Lord versus Witch. Is it really fair? Miss Frizzle, or better known as River Song, and Mary Poppins are having a showdown. Wars become a problem for the human race that wizards are abusing magic on muggles, like it's been had in the past. And as the wife of the Doctor and a Time Lord herself, River has an appreciation and love for the human race. Defending them against this great evil, River uses her trusty TARDIS, of course, which she borrowed from the Doctor without him really knowing. And the sonic screwdriver, which the Doctor just gave it to her for some reason that she, is unknown to her because that's what the Doctor does. The witch, though, Mary Poppins, makes her first attack using the wand that is nicely disguised as an umbrella handle to cast curse upon curse, jinx after jinx against the magic school TARDIS bus. But with his defenses running at tip-top shape because River's expansive knowledge of properly running the TARDIS is also well known, the spells fizzle, or frizzle, as they hit the defense barriers. Using the screwdriver, River would easily and quickly disarm Mary, leaving her defenseless, and if that didn't work, River would quickly just say, "Sorry, sweetie," and shoot her in the face like the trained assassin she is. The end.
Alright!
Or, we hit her with a fucking bus.
And that actually is time, so let's hear it for the nerds. It's going direct with the fucking bus. Alright, so there's been a lot of back and forth. You guys used your rebuttal tokens really early on, so I assume there's a lot that you want to say to each other. So it is time for 5 minutes of open debate. Polite open debate because I have a gun to keep the law. And we will go at it. Begin.
Can we talk about the kids in danger and both kids on each side? So in his
Let's talk about the kids in danger.
Let's talk about the kids in danger. In Miss Frizzle's world, the worst thing that happens to one of the kids in the magic school bus gets lost in space. Arnold, on the surface of fucking Pluto, takes his helmet off. Instead of fucking exploding, which you think his head would like explode, he freezes over, which is still pretty terrifying. But what happens to Arnold after? He gets a fucking cold.
Because the TARDIS has a force field.
The kids are in no danger whatsoever. If they can take their helmet off.
Okay, no, I'm sorry. On that very same field trip, does Miss Frizzle not eject a child from the bus? Because she doesn't like it?
We actually watched that episode very recently, so do you actually have like a check on that?
Yeah.
I know she ejects herself and lets them fly the
She
space.
ejects Janet. No, let me say, Janet is awful, Arnold's cousin. She is. But that doesn't mean you can eject cousins of children from your class from the bus because you think they're awful.
She wasn't ejecting them to leave her there. She was ejecting to teach her a lesson that you can't just fucking take everything from all these planets, put it in a bus, and drag it down.
Alright, I have a wonderful talk about Mary fucking off all the time because she does that. She leaves them in like the care of, no, many times. I'm sorry. In the books, read books.
Okay, I believe we've already regarded that the books are not relevant here and that everyone is referring to the film.
Why can't the bus be
And I would like to make a point now as well. A perfect point of Miss Frizzle's negligence as an educator. In Season 2, Episode 3, The Busasaurus, two students, Arnold and Phoebe, are separated from the class for most of the episode. They are only reunited with the class as they are being chased by a T-Rex into a field where the bus and the other students remain. Now, the class and Miss Frizzle see the T-Rex coming, and Phoebe manages to make it on the bus as well, but Arnold slips and falls into a puddle of mud. And what does Miss Frizzle do? She closes the door.
Make him grow to the size of a T-Rex and makes him have a fist fight.
Here's the point.
Who doesn't want to do that?
I would like to continue on if possible. She does, in fact. However, prior to that, while the children are screaming in fear and the T-Rex is pushing over the bus, and Arnold is actually beneath the bus, whereas Miss Frizzle, she's sitting in the driver's seat saying, "Ooh, wonder if this insurance policy covers dino damage." Does that sound like a good educator?
Miss Frizzle, in the baddie episode, they also say, man, Arnold raves about your field trips. And not raves like, oh my god, he raves about your field trips, you're a crazy woman. It's raves like he loves coming to school every day. He loves it.
Why does he say, I wish I stayed at home today?
Let me tell you, kids say things to look cool because they're
And let's get this straight, Arnold is the coolest guy in school.
He tries hard. So I want to go back to Mary Poppins.
1 minute left of the open debate.
Did Mary tell Mr. and Mrs. Banks that they are off gallivanting with this Cockney kind of type guy, and they're like schmoozing, and the kids are off playing with penguins? There's a whole song with Mary Poppins and
Carousel. She knows where they are.
Are you sure? Because those carousel horses fuck off also.
When she's with them. But that doesn't happen until she's with them.
But you know what?
parents know.
Who is often left to educate the class when Miss Frizzle runs off?
Liz.
Dorothy Ann. What would happen if Dorothy Ann happened to call in sick one day?
To be fair,
Well, according to my research,
the Elizabeth
students would probably die. And the headlines would read the next day, 7 students frizzled, 1 student hospitalized for anxiety, Frizzle still at large.
Let's hear from both the geeks and the nerds.
Andrew, you're not doing your job. Woo.
Alright, so it has now come down to the end, but before we lay our votes, it is time for final words from both teams. In the interest of fairness, we are switching the order for the final words. So we're going to start with the nerds. Final word about Miss Frizzle.
The thing is that this is a feminist debate currently. We would just like to say that Miss Frizzle is a feminist icon, whereas Mary Poppins and the entire series is teaching. Shut up. The movie teaches you that it's totally not okay to talk back to your husband unless you want to like write him a note.
That mom's the worst.
It's true. She's totally trying to be a suffragette, but then she doesn't. She totally backs down for her husband.
She needs a man.
Whereas Miss Frizzle has taught me that science will get me a good job. She is amazing. She is the female Bill Nye, who is, by the way, debating tonight, and we're really sad that he couldn't be there.
I'm sorry you want to be at a different debate tonight.
It's Bill Nye. Wouldn't you want to be Bill Nye?
Anything else?
Yeah, the fact is, Magic School Bus was created to inspire both women and people of color who aren't involved in math and science to go for it. And it was specifically, that's why it was a book, that's why it's a TV show. Mary Poppins was written, originally she was in a book, you can't ignore that. And she fucks off 3 times and leaves the kids to an even more horrible nanny, which they hate. They call like the hell beast or something. Miss Frizzle is made for feminism, and she teaches you more than anyone else.
All right, let's hear it from the nerds. And going over, final word from the geeks. Geeks.
I love how Team Nerd turned it into a political debate when really at the end of the day the question is who is the better educator? Now, Mary Poppins isn't confined to only educating young and the old to make sure she betters everyone's lives. Never would she put children in danger or compromise their safety. Ultimately, she works for the greater good. And let me just ask you this question. Who would you rather leave your children with?
All right, let's hear it for the geeks. You said I didn't get to use my gun that often.
You can shoot me if you like.
All right, so it is time to render your votes and decide once and for all who is the most extraordinary educator. Do we hear it for the nerds and Miss Frizzle? and Mary Poppins. Sit down. All right, we have a winner. As Lord High Mooman, I hereby decree the most extraordinary educator to be Mary Poppins.